We found the Nkuhumas. I'm so happy. I could sing all day, but I don't sing as well as James, unfortunately, so I'm going to stop right there. Don't worry, though, the rest of the pride is around. They're just lying in some thick stuff, but we will eventually get to them. Now, this is the youngest Nkuhuma, who was mating with one of the Birmingham males, who is off into the distance, and they all seem to be giving us big yawns. They're moving from the little bit of shade that they were lying in and now to a bigger spot. Where are you going? Perhaps she's going to go across, I think. She's going to say hello. No? Oh, that's rude. Not even a little head greet. She's going straight back to the rest of the pride. You can see her on her way. We should start to see the others soon too, and I think the youngest lioness is going to follow in the other lioness's footsteps and head the same way. Now, I think that this young lioness is perhaps coming out of estrus now, because we've got the Birmingham male who's watching in the distance, but far away you can see him. And we know over the last few days, both of the Birminghams have been hot on the heels on both amber eyes, and of course the youngest Nkuhuma. But he doesn't seem too bothered by either of the ladies at the moment. So this looks like Tinyo. So on his left side of his face, he had a big scar, and you can actually see one of his canines. So Tinyo means tooth, in case you are wondering what on earth that strange word means. Now, I wonder where Mfumo is, the other male who's got the big injury on his face. Perhaps he's nearby. And once this young lioness moves, we'll probably try and find our way into where the rest of the Nkuhumas are, but it is quite thick in there. It's a good spot, lots of shaded trees, but so is this young lioness has got a nice spot, lots and lots of shade, unlike VM and I, who are baking in the sun. I hope my sun screen works very well today, otherwise I'm going to be very sunburnt. Sounds like there's a bit of commotion happening behind us. Maybe the little cubs are just starting to wake up, but the big Birmingham is having a bit of a scratch now, and I suspect from this position he is going to come straight towards us, so we'll keep an eye on him. Having a good groom. Remember, yesterday I pointed out to you how many ticks we saw on his back legs, so perhaps he's attending to that now and trying to remove some of them. It looks like it. We should see him pull a few funny faces, though, with all those barbs on their tongue that would remove the ticks straight away. But, of course, they'd be in his mouth then, so perhaps he'll pull a funny face for us. You can actually see him, how he was pulling some ticks off, actually, with his teeth. You see that there? Trying to get rid of all of them. So now that he's finished mating, by the looks of it, he's actually got some time to groom himself. Hello, big boy. Just keeping a close eye out on all the lovely ladies. Melinda would like to know this afternoon, at what age do the lions start mating? Now, it depends. For a female, as young as sort of between 2 and 2.5 years old, they can come into estrus for the first time. And then, for males, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So it depends on when the males will take over a pride for the first time. They will have to fight off the resident males that are currently with the pride in order to get some mating rights. So that could be anywhere from about 4 years old if they're extremely lucky, but highly unlikely. I reckon the average age is about 5.5, 6 years old that they get their first opportunity to mate with the females. But they, of course, are in their prime of their lives, around 7, 8 years old. Well, and then after that, they seem to go into semi-retirement. They're not as fit and not as strong as they normally are, and take a little bit longer time to recover. I think let's go around. Let's actually try and reposition. Let's go have a look at the Birmingham. Let's see what he's up to. Hello, girl. Trying to squeeze past her now. Lions are very tolerant of the vehicles. You can see she's just having a little look at us, but she's not particularly bothered. But I'll just go slowly. We're not too far away from her. But she's not bothered at all. We're going to go and pay attention to the male. I'm sure you'll be happy with that. Oh, look at him. And these Birminghams really are starting to look good. They're starting to look like real male lions, though they've been scarred up since the beginning, since their takeover. But they're looking much, much better. And you're keeping a close eye on me today, hey friend? With him watching both VM and I as we drive along. Not that he's giving us the angry look or anything. He is extremely hot. You can see him panting away. He's gazing up to the sky there, just checking to see if there's any vulture activity. And you can see he's a young boy by his teeth. You can see that the canines are not blunt at the tip of the tooth. He is in lovely condition. And of course there you can see that scar just above his left front canine, which is why he is called Tinyo. You're a scruffy looking thing, aren't you? I'm hoping we're going to catch them going towards Buffelshoek at some point this afternoon to go and have a drink. I think they're going to need a drink after this hot day. I think all the animals will be slightly shell-shocked, especially since we've had much cooler weather. It just seems to spring up upon us occasionally, this hot weather. This is nice though, but a beautiful afternoon. Sorry, Louise, did you say Tanner or Hannah? I couldn't quite make out the first letter of the word you were telling me. Perfect. Had a little bit of a break up there. Now, Tanner, you're wondering, can you tell the difference between a male and a female lion track, or in fact any of the big cats? If you can tell the difference, you can indeed. And hopefully we'll be able to find some nice tracks for you. Then I'll be able to show you. Maybe we'll find some in the mud, which will be nice then. If you look at his beautiful big paws, the male lion's track, and this goes with all the animals, is that their front feet are larger than their back footprint, and that's because all the power is in their shoulders. Now, with a male lion track, they are just as long as they are wide, whereas the females tend to have a lot more of a narrower track. Their track is longer than what the width is. Now, this obviously goes for lions, and it's the same thing with leopards. Their tracks just look a little bit stockier, and the females seem to be a little bit more slight and slender. But it takes lots and lots of practice, and I think the difficult part comes in, especially with leopard tracks, when you're looking at young male leopard tracks versus female leopard tracks. Sometimes they can indeed be confusing. But that, like I said, that just takes lots and lots of practice of going out there and having a look at the different tracks. Now, with this heat today, you can imagine, as hot as this male lion is, and as much as VM and I are perspiring, I have to keep drinking water. So I'm going to take a sip, because at the moment my mouth feels like a leather sandal. It is so dry. Ah, that is so much better. Now it feels as though my tongue is not going to be stuck on my palate anymore. Beautiful. Now, it's quite funny to see how he doesn't really care too much for the females now. When he's not mating with them, he's quite happy to sit at a distance and watch them and not have to put up with the cubs, because of course the cubs are super fascinated by the males. They love them. But this male, we've seen time and time again, is not terribly tolerant of the cubs. Mfumo, the other male with a gash in his face, he is a lovely male lion, and out of all the lions that I've seen in the last couple of years, he seems to be the most placid with the cubs and tolerates them jumping on his back and biting at his mane and his tail. He doesn't mind too much, whereas Tinyo, he seems to swipe at them and is not reluctant to growl at them. I think the females are quite happy that he is sitting away over here. Welcome, Messias. Thank you so much for watching the show. So Messias is a new viewer. I hope you are enjoying the show so far. You want to know, why does not this lion not want to eat me? Well, he could maybe be thinking about it, but I doubt it. So the reason why he doesn't want to eat me is because I don't look like food. While I'm sitting in this vehicle in Jigga, that's the name of this car that I am in, I look like a big rock, I suppose you could call it. And we've been interacting with these animals for over 30 years. And getting used to them. We don't feed them. They're completely wild. So the only thing that we're doing in these cars is driving in and observing, just like what you're doing now. So as long as we don't interact with these animals on foot or try and feed them, then we are safe and we are well trained in animal behavior. So perhaps if an animal is having a bad day and they are a little bit unhappy with us, we will see those signs and we will react immediately and move away, or whatever the situation may need us to do. But we're safe here. As long as you must stay seated if you ever come on a safari. That's the most important thing. And it's what your guide will tell you, is to sit down at all times and not to break the solid silhouette of the vehicle. So don't stick your arms out. Don't try and touch anything if it walks past. You can still talk. You can sneeze. You can do all those normal things, unless obviously your guide says so. So there's a few guidelines to keep you safe, and I try to obey my own guidelines. But I like to talk with my hands, so occasionally they flutter around. But he doesn't seem too bothered with that. Just having a little look over my shoulder just to see what the rest of the pride is doing. But it doesn't seem like they're doing too much, I'm afraid. You can see the movement of one of the cubs on the bottom right there, looking at us. It's too hot for them to do anything today, especially with all that hair. Now, we were looking at this beautiful male. Let's see if he's going to get up. I'm wondering now. He moved slightly, so I got excited. And Shani, you were wondering, why on earth do male lions have manes? Now, the first thing is, of course, it's sort of a dominance display, like how birds have colorful feathers or good singing voices to attract their mates. That beautiful mane is a dominance display. So you can see how it's darkening now on their chest. Hopefully he's going to get a lovely dark black mane, which is usually an indication of a good genetics. But it starts off blonde and then it edges a little bit darker. You can see the few dark sprigs coming through there. And another important thing about the mane is that it also protects vital organs. So, of course, the throat and anything else, the big back of the neck. And that's what we watch the lions do when they catch the various animals, and specifically the buffalo, is they go around and they try and grab the animal by the throat to suffocate it. That's what that mane is for. It's there to protect those vital organs for when male lions will fight each other. And that's often why when you do see two males fight, how they'll often swipe towards the rear end, because that is the next sensitive area. A claw or a paw won't go through that thick mane, as beautiful and as groomed, well groomed as it looks. I bet you wouldn't even be able to run your fingers through that. It's just the outside that looks nice and smooth, but I reckon that it's quite matted the deeper you go inside that mane. There, he did a big sigh. I wonder what his next move is going to be. Now we're looking at this lion panting, oh, bless you, quite a bit. as he's quite hot, and the others are using the shade to keep out of the heat. And Rain, aged 16, welcome Rain, wondering, can the lions ever die from the heat? Yes, and of course they can. If it is too hot, and perhaps if there's no water around and they don't get to water or drink water regularly, they can indeed get heat stroke and dehydration. So it's very important that they do keep up drinking water, lay in the shade, keep out of the heat. But they are well adapted, though, to the varying temperatures. Let's see what he does now. I'm surprised. He's looking in good condition considering he's been mating quite frequently. Normally they lose weight drastically. I very quickly need to call the sighting in. Let me do that. They're going to quickly let everybody know that the lions are around and are here. And while I do that, let's go back across to Byron and see where he is on Djuma. We're watching the lion cubs fast asleep now, though. As I say that, one of the lionesses rolls over onto her belly. That seems to be a popular position today. And look how she's giving herself a little scratch. That's quite nice. I find it so funny how all the Nkuhumas seem to love to rub their bellies with their own paws. I've never seen it before until I came across the beautiful Nkuhumas. You can see all the little cubs, though, are absolutely exhausted. They've had a long day, by the sounds of it, and they look very tired, panting away, trying to beat the heat of the day, which is, of course, I think, quite difficult when you are covered with all that hair. That one must be very hot with the sun baking down on it. Here we go, you can see how quickly it's breathing. A little bit of movement, but not too much from them. I think, though, that they're going to sleep for most of the afternoon. I think it's only going to cool down much later this evening, unfortunately. Now, we aren't going to be able to stay with the Nkuhumas for too long. Kitty Kitty Bang Bang. I absolutely love your username. It's incredible. You'd like to know, can they sweat through the pores of their pad? Yes, they can. They can indeed do so. That's one of the perks. And another animal that does it quite well is the rock hyrax, or a dussie as they're commonly called in South Africa. And I suppose for the hyraxes, though, it's a little bit more difficult because they tend to lose quite a bit of heat through the pores of their pad as well. And I don't think they're as fluffy, though, as the lions. They have to rely on cuddling up to each other to keep warm, where we often see the lions getting quite annoyed with each other when they sit on top of each other. Well, the cubs don't mind. The cubs just do whatever they like, really, including putting a foot in Mom's face, as you just saw. So like I said, unfortunately, there are lots of vehicles that want to come and see the lions this afternoon. And I don't think that they're going to do too much, though, but I will keep listening out to the radio, that perhaps if they do get up and start doing something interesting, and maybe once everyone has come through, maybe we'll be able to come back. But it is only fair that we give everybody a chance to come and have a look at these incredible lions. You can see why everybody wants to see them. At the moment, I wish I could cool down from the padding under my feet. I am very hot this afternoon. I feel like I may go and put my feet in the water and join Henry the hippo. Perhaps he wouldn't mind some company. Oh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And look at the size of the paws of the adult lioness compared to this young cub. And it's hard to believe that in a few years' time, maybe even in a year and a half, he'll be almost just as big as Mom. And they're fast asleep. Look at that one, fast asleep, huddled right underneath that tree. If it wasn't breathing so quickly, you would actually think it was dead. Now, Tim Silver wants to know, how long do I think the Birminghams have got to reign? I think they've got a few more years in them, seeing as they've just sort of come in last year, and they're almost 6 years old, I suspect. Also, it depends on if there's a bigger coalition that comes through, possibly, maybe from Kruger, maybe from the Manuleti, from the Timbavati. They could be taken out at any moment. I think they're going to be here for maybe another 2 years or so. I think they're going to be great. Now, it is very difficult, of course, with the Birminghams, how they have split up quite a bit. We normally just see Tinyo and Mfumo together occasionally. Every now and then, Nena comes through as well, but I have yet to see all 4 Birminghams together, which I'd absolutely love to see. So that runs a risk, is that if 3 new lions come in, a new coalition comes in, they'll just take the Birminghams out one at a time, and that's the problem when you don't stick together. Fast asleep, it's very uncomfortable. Now, I'm sure you remember that the Birminghams used to be 5 strong in the coalition, and unfortunately the 5th Birmingham, who I believe was an amazing character and was one of the most of the favorites of the team from Wild Earth, and I know that Kay Williams was wondering exactly that, where did he disappear to? Now, from what I've heard, unfortunately he succumbed to some injuries that he sustained from a buffalo, and that's what happens when you want to take on one of the toughest creatures in Africa. As a lion, you can easily fall victim yourself. Oh, big stretch. But unfortunately, I don't think anything promising. I don't think that they're going to wake up. Right, I think what we're going to have to do now is there's lots of other vehicles itching to get into the sighting, and I can hear the vehicles rumbling in the distance, waiting to head in. I think we're going to have to move out of the sighting. Like I said, if I hear that they do perhaps wake up and start to do something interesting, well, I'll be the first one on that radio to try and get us back into that sighting. Now, we're not going to go too far. What I'd really like to do is go back down the cut line and have a look if that beautiful leopardess is perhaps still around. Now I need to do a bit of navigating. Let's go back to Byron and see if he's got any more buffalo or elephants.
Get a vehicle in position now. I think it's going to be all from myself and Brian this evening. Brian, thank you very much, and the thumb. And we will see you tomorrow morning on our morning safari. Thank you to everyone in Final Control. Go over, see what Taylor's got and what the lions are up to. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Isn't this incredible? Apparently the Nkuhumas very quickly got up and caught this buffalo. It is unbelievable. That's what I heard, distress calling in the distance, and apparently they killed this buffalo very quickly, which is unusual because we've seen how long it can take them. Perhaps it was an older buffalo that was quite weak and on its way out anyway. But this is fantastic. Now, unfortunately, we won't be able to stay here for too long because the sun is disappearing. It is getting very dark, and of course these cubs are very young still to be spotlighted when it gets completely dark. But luckily we are able to have a very quick look, and it's definitely something that we'll be able to follow up on in the morning. But I'm sure you are all jumping for joy that the Nkuhumas managed to get another buffalo, and they will have another day that they can feast on a beautiful piece of beef. Isn't this beautiful? Look at the little ones trying to tuck in, trying to rip through that skin, but again, their teeth, everything is not strong enough just yet. We're just very quickly getting a spotlight. Mine doesn't seem to be working very well.
I will pick it up from you tomorrow.
Oh, no, really, don't worry. So we're just going to have a look. It's okay. I'll use these other guys' spotlight. They can shine on for us. That's all right. Sure. Yeah, it's perfect. No problem. Thank you so much. We're just trying to organize another spotlight here. No, it's okay. Thank you so much. Have a lovely drive. We're going to get back to the action now. We're just going to wait for another vehicle to get in. And unfortunately, we don't have any infrared, and that's why we won't be able to stay with them for too long and spot on these cubs. But you can see them there. But we'll have one last little look. It's going to be a few months still until these little ones are able to have the full brunt of a spotlight. But we know that at least they're going to be here first thing in the morning. And I'm sure they're going to feast on this buffalo for a while. It looks like quite a big buffalo, perhaps a cow. It doesn't seem to be big enough to be a bull. And I hope that you are enjoying this. We're just going to get another vehicle come past us very quickly. Yeah, if you'd like to go past, you're more than welcome to. We're just going to let this other vehicle come through very quickly. They're just going to pass us to get into a better spot. But obviously, it's a very tricky spot here. There's lots of fallen trees around, so we've got to be quite careful moving around at night. But we'll have another look now. And you can see them moving around. Some of them having a rest, not quite ready to start eating just yet. Isn't this beautiful? Here we go. Look at all the dust that's settling from the cubs jumping around all the time. And practicing what their parents do by jumping. Even though this buffalo is dead, it's important that they practice these techniques. Look at that one's having a sleep on the back of the buffalo now. He's gone, I'm exhausted, right, I'm done for the day now, I'm just going to have a nap. Big yawn. And that would be a nice, soft, comfy spot to have a rest. Be careful, you're going to roll off the top of that buffalo if you're not careful. All of the little ones trying to tuck in quite nicely. Look how their eyes light up. What an amazing way to end the day. Me driving like a crazy person to get here just to show you a couple of minutes of the Nkuhumas on the buffalo. But like I said, we're going to come back here first thing tomorrow morning to come and have a look and see how full the Nkuhuma's bellies are. Now, unfortunately, that's almost the end for us. We are going to have to leave soon. Like I said, I'm not really wanting to shine a light too much more on these little cubs just because they're not quite long enough. But let's have one last look to get your Nkuhuma fix for the night. And it's been an absolute pleasure once again. But I'm going to leave you with these magnificent creatures as they start to devour this buffalo. And I hope you've enjoyed the show. And I look forward to tomorrow morning. Have a lovely evening wherever you may be. We'll see you for the sunrise drive.